Now, so we are now very clear with the concept of value chain analysis, and now we want to know that what are the components of value chain analysis, right? So here we have three components, or what you call as strategic framework for value chain analysis. Basically, this strategic framework is nothing but components of value chain analysis, of which the first is industry structure analysis, also called as Porter's five forces. Also called as? Have you heard this Porter's five forces? Probably in your strategic management when you are doing your intermediate. So we can skip this and we can move on to the next part. No, sir. Okay. So what is industry structure analysis? Is again, if you want to start a new business, okay, Porter's five forces analysis, what was the thought process behind which he introduced this concept? Can anybody tell me why he introduced this concept? For which kind of people? Correct. Those people who want to enter into a new business and want to see the feasibility of that new business are going to use Porter's five forces analysis. Who is going to use Porter's five forces analysis? New business entrants. Those are entering the new business and want to understand how good is the market, how competitive is the market, whether we will be able to survive in the market or not, whether it is a long-term level for market or not. Based on all of that, we will then decide how is our standing, got it? So Porter's five forces analysis: information about an industry structure to evaluate its potential attractiveness. What do you mean by potential? Futuristic? Bolo, what does potential mean here? It means futuristic. So what is your futuristic attractiveness of this market is called as Porter's five forces analysis. Anybody who wants to enter into the market, new market, should do a Porter's five forces analysis. Suppose I want to enter into the calculator market. I want to produce calculators. I will check the Porter's five forces analysis. There is a checklist that I will make based on these things. I'll see whether it is feasible or not, and then I will take my decision. In that, first is the bargaining power of the buyer. Bargaining power of the buyer. I'll see what is the bargaining power of the buyer. Bargaining power of buyer will be high where the market is very competitive. Where the market is very competitive, and bargaining power will be low where the bargaining power of buyers is she's lost somewhere. Now come back to Porter's five forces. Chalo. Now bargaining power of buyer. Bargaining power of buyer means whether the buyers, say for example all of us are buyers for a particular product, whether our bargaining power will be high or not depends on whether the product is a monopoly market or a perfectly competitive market. In a monopoly market, bargaining power of buyer is high or low? Think and tell. In a monopoly market, the bargaining power of buyer is low. In a perfectly competitive market, the bargaining power of supplier of buyer is high. For a reason that because there are so many sellers available in a perfectly competitive market, I will tell the seller, boss, I want it at this price. If you don't give me, then in that case, I will go to some other supplier. So we'll have to check whether the new industry that we are entering into is a monopoly industry, is a perfectly competitive industry, is what kind of industry. If it is a perfectly competitive industry, then in that case, I will have to bow down to the bargaining power of buyer, which may restrict my profitability. You agree or not? So that is your first bargaining power of buyers here. Ability of buyer to push the price down. Correct? Can I say now the mobile market has become so buyer oriented? The bargaining power of buyers has increased. There are so many options available with us. If you don't want Apple, there is Samsung. If you don't want Samsung, there is OnePlus, there is Oppo, there is Vivo. There is so many other mobiles which are available in the market. So ability of buyer to push the price down depends on buyer concentration and high volume purchase by buyers. And Cost of switching suppliers is low. Can anybody tell me what is cost of switching suppliers? Changing the supplier is very low. Today I have a Apple phone. I've used it for 2 years. Now if I want to buy a Samsung phone, so I can easily switch to Samsung. Are bolo? Correct or not? Yes. Now changing of suppliers, switching suppliers, cost of switching suppliers is very high. When you want to replace a chartered accountant, suppose you are the chartered accountant of a company, and if you have to be replaced, then it will not be that easy. Is it easy to replace a chartered accountant with a new chartered accountant? Not easy. You will require so many formalities, plus so much of financial information is there with the first chartered accountant. Some of it may leak or whatever. So basically, cost of switching suppliers is whether if you are switching the supplier, whether there is a cost attached to it or not. If it is easy, then in that case again the bargaining power of buyer increases. If cost of switching supplier is low, what did I say? If cost of switching supplier is, then in that case what will happen? Bargaining power of buyer will increase. Are you understanding? If are we clear? Will you be able to write it? Yes. High number of alternative suppliers. So you'll have to see how many suppliers are available. Again, if there are high number of alternative suppliers, bargaining power of buyer will be very, very high. Are we clear? So this can happen in FMCG, fast moving consumer goods industry. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Done. Next is bargaining power of supplier. Next is bargaining power of supplier. When will bargaining power of supplier be high? I am the supplier. When will my bargaining power be high? Correct. In a monopoly market, when my product is so good or so differentiated that I do not have many competitors and my supplying power will be high. So you have to accept what price I am going to give. So if you are entering into a market in which you are introducing a unique product, then in that case your bargaining power will be very high. Your bargaining power will be very high. Are we understanding, guys? So what is the bargaining power of supplier or your company that you are getting into? High when input is important to the buying firm. Suppose you are supplier of an input, and when you are supplying input to somebody, to the manufacturer, so the manufacturer knows that this input can be provided only by one supplier, and that is me. Then in that case my bargaining power will be higher. In such situations it is an attractive market. If I am starting a new business, when will I be happy? When bargaining power of buyer is high, or when bargaining power of supplier is high? Power of supplier is high, as in, and I am the supplier and I am now going to rule the market. Very few suppliers, alternative is not available. Like operating system of Microsoft. Is there an alternative for Microsoft? Like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, do we have any alternative? Answer is no. So that tells that there are very few suppliers and alternative is not available. Alternative is not available. So this is bargaining power of suppliers. Are we clear, everyone? Okay. Third is threat of substitute products or services. Threat of substitute products or services. Now paper market has a threat of a substitute, that it may get substituted by the e-market. Papers will be replaced by, say for example, Kindle. Kindle is what? The same book is available on technology. The same thing is available on technology. So you may get substituted. You may get substituted. So if there is a substitute available for your product, then again you should not enter, or your we can say the competitiveness will be very high in such industry and it is not good for you. So you'll have to see who is the threat or what can be a threat or substitute that can be applicable to your business. When multiple and close substitutes are available in market, customers are likely to switch suppliers easily. Getting it? Resort to competitive pricing to retain. You may have to resort to competitive pricing to retain the customers. Companies should focus on brand building and customer loyalty to ensure that they stick to us. Are we clear? The best example, paper industry from ebook market is facing a threat of substitute. That people will soon substitute the physical books with online books. The students will soon substitute the physical book with the online books. Are we clear, everyone? Done. Again, can I say the digital camera industry is facing a threat of substitute from mobile phone cameras? Nowadays, mobile phone cameras are 128 megapixel and 200 megapixel, almost equivalent to what a digital camera is providing. Are you understanding? So can I say threat of substitute? So digital camera will be substituted by mobile phone itself. Are you clear what is a threat of a substitute? It's not a competitor product, it's a substitute. It is being, so if say digital camera of Nikon is being replaced by a digital camera of Canon, then it is a competitiveness which has replaced it. Here both digital camera of Nikon and digital camera of Canon, both will be replaced not by a digital camera company but by a mobile camera. Are we clear? Can I say the stopwatch industry has been totally substituted by mobile phone? Because every mobile phone today has a, very soon this smartwatch will probably replace in the coming years a mobile phone as well. Almost everything is available, no? So what we will have is, suppose if we want to receive a call, we'll use a earpod, pick up the call, done. Calling is taken care of. Many other things will be taken care of. They may have a digital, just an idea, they may have a digital interface also. So you may click on this and this digitally will become as big as a mobile phone. Correct. It's like a projector. It will enlarge the pics and you may use that. So mobile phone may also someday get substituted. So you'll have to check that whether your product has a threat of substitute or not. Are we clear, everyone? So we can just write here in example, digital cameras substituted by mobile phones. Substituted by mobile phones. Gotcha? Okay. Next is threat of new entrants. Can I say this is competitiveness? The point before this was threat of substitute. Correct? Paper market, e-paper industry is a substitute. Mobile phone, digital cameras is a substitute. But this threat of new entrants is what? Correct. It is competitiveness. So how many competitors can enter the market or not is important. Say for example, Reliance Jio. Is Reliance Jio really has a threat of new entrant? Yes or no? Does Reliance Jio has a threat of new entrant? No ways. In order to set up a telecommunication industry, you require 50,000 crores. Huh? Sorry? Starlink project. Okay, so that can be a global threat that can happen. Fair enough. Indian threat does Reliance Jio have? No. But yes, a global threat can happen from a Starlink project of an Elon Musk. Are we understanding? So that can become a threat of new entrant if, see again, but Starlink project will have to tackle the political acceptance from us. If we don't politically accept, then again Reliance Jio doesn't have a tension. Does airline industries have threat of new entrants? Yes, but marginally low. See, does a Kirana store have a threat of new entrant? Yes, very easily I can replicate that. But does a airline industry have a threat of new entrant? Potentially very, very less. Because if you want to start a airline industry, it's not that easy. It's highly capital intensive. It's highly legal intensive. It may not be so easily feasible. Are we clear, everyone? So threat of new entrants will have to be seen. Depends on barriers to entry. So there can be capital intensive barrier to entry, there can be legal barrier to entry, there can be a political barrier to entry, like in case of a Starlink, as he said. So depends on barrier to entry and perceived profitability in industry. So if I am investing so much, I should also earn enough profit, no? Industry with huge capital or sophisticated technology might not have threat of new firms. Will not have threat of new firms. Legislation also restricts newer firms. Airline, low threat of entry. But pen or stationery, high threat of entry. Are we clear, everyone? Okay. And last is intensity of competition or rivalry among firms in that particular industry. If I want to enter into the cold drink industry, can I say there's a huge rivalry between Pepsi and Coca-Cola? If I want to enter the e-commerce industry, can I say there's a huge rivalry already among Amazon and Flipkart? If I want to enter the taxi service industry, already there's a huge competitiveness or what you can say intense of competition between Ola and Uber. So you'll have to check the industry that you are entering, whether it has high threat of competition or not. If it has no competition or no intensity of competition is there, it's good that we can enter in that market. But if there is cutthroat competition, then in that case pricing can become a big issue and I may not be able to earn super normal profits from the business that I have started. See, every businessman starts business with an expectation of super normal profits, which may not be possible if there is intensity of competition or rivalry amongst firms. Gotcha, everybody. In highly competitive market, firms resort to cutthroat competition to win more customers. Intensity is high when firms are of equal size, like Pepsi and Thumbs Up, Amazon and Flipkart, Pepsi and Coca-Cola, Amazon, Flipkart, Uber, Ola, almost have equal margins, like an oligopoly. Can I say this is, as you remember oligopoly? I have taught you all in pricing, no? So can I say this can be a case of a oligopoly? So whether you are entering into a oligopoly business or not, whether extra capacity exists in the industry, you'll have to check, because there is already so much intense competition and there is no extra capacity left in the industry. What I will do? Play drums there? What I will do? So I will have to check that. Yes? Okay. Then difficulty in differentiation. Suppose you are starting a product which is equivalent. Suppose a new company comes and gives all the offers which are already given by Ola and Uber, or already gives offers which are already there in Amazon and Flipkart, which already give offers which is already there in Pepsi or Coca-Cola. Then will you go to the new one, or already you will follow the existing ones? Till the time you are not going to differentiate, people will always fall back on the things which are there, no? Are bolo? Yes. High exit barriers. Now, if I have set up the industry, Coca-Cola industry or cold drink industry, now it can become difficult for me to exit because I have committed to the capital. So I have to check whether long capital is invested and how easily I can exit. What are the high fixed costs which are there? Example I gave, soft drink like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or you can also write Amazon, Flipkart, or you can also write Ola, Uber. Gotcha? Are we clear, everybody? Yes or no? Okay. So bargaining power of buyers is clear to you. Bolo? Bargaining power of suppliers is clear to you. Operating system of Microsoft. Threat of substitutes is clear to you. Now this is this third one. A lot of people get confused. They feel substitute is a competitor. Is substitute a competitor? It's a different industry which is taking over your industry. Yaar. Substitute means a totally different industry which is taking over your industry. Gotcha. That is a substitute. The example is digital camera substituted by mobile phones, paper industry substituted by ebook market. Gotcha. Then there is threat of new entrants. Airline, telecommunication, difficult threat of entry. A stationery shop, easy threat of easy entry. Then there is intensity of competition. Like if the industry you are entering is a oligopoly industry, like 2-3 dominating players are there, then in that case you will have to check whether extra capacity exists in the industry or not. First point, see this, whether extra capacity exists in the industry or not, whether firms who are of equal size as that of ours, what is the differentiation that we are going to bring. Is it going to be a high fixed overhead business which may make it difficult for me to exit the industry? All of these will have to be checked in the fifth point, which is intensity of competition. Are we clear, everyone? Can you please tell me about the 5 things that we just discussed? First is bargaining power of buyer, and second is? So see, 2 are bargaining power of buyer, bargaining power of supplier. 2 are threat of substitutes and threat of new entrants. So again, these are done. And in center is intensity, rivalry among competitors. Coca-Cola, Pepsi. Are we clear all? Yes or no? So can I say with this we complete Porter's 5 forces analysis. Porter's 5 forces analysis. Again, first is bargaining power of buyer. So I will check whether my buyers which are there in the industry, they have a bargaining power, as in it is a perfectly competitive market or a monopoly market. Second is bargaining power of supplier. Suppose if I am a supplier and if I will have a bargaining power or not, or it can be other way around, that suppose if I am entering into a market, will I be over dependent on one supplier for it? So I'll have to check that. Third is threat of substitutes. Fourth is threat of new entrants, and fifth is rivalry among competitors. Are we clear, everyone? Chalo, with this we complete what the Porter's 5 forces.